Shine tomorrow with highs in the mid-40s. That's the forecast on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Right now, 44 degrees.
And we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect till 12:30 this afternoon for northeastern Henry, western Louisa, and southeastern Washington counties. Just for the top of the hour, 11:56 a.m., that storm is located over Wyman or near Columbus Junction and moving northeast at 35 miles per hour. We have a great view of it here from the KCJJ studios where we're getting a not severe storm, but a storm nonetheless. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts with that storm that's down around Louisa and Washington counties could cause damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Some of the impacted locations, Columbus Junction, Sand Springs, Letts, Cairo, Fredonia, the Louisa County Fairgrounds, Winfield, Wyman, Crawfordsville, Grandview, Cotter, and Columbus City. Again, those areas under a severe thunderstorm warning till 12:30 this afternoon. And getting back to that baseball game, which I'm sure Rex may mention at some point, Jack Dreyer, the Hawkeye alum, got his first Major League action, got a strikeout in that game at least. I didn't get to watch much of it, but why do I need to talk? It's time for Senior Talk. It's brought to you by Solon American Legion, Senior Benefits, and Walden Place Senior Living. And here's your host, Rex Brandstatter.
Well, good afternoon, Tommy. Thank you for that intro and that little shuffle deal about the Dodgers. Yes, folks, Dodgers are haven't broken camp yet, but they're 2-0 and up on that. Can't say it too loud because Jim Hunter down here is a big Cubs fan. I have to be very careful here, but baseball is back, so be it. Well, folks, if you look out the window, it doesn't look good. We may get more warnings and things like that. It's pretty nasty out there. It is what it is. It's Iowa, Northwest Iowa's getting pounded with snow, and this mud you see, this dirt you see in your cars now, that's all comes from a big windstorm down in, I don't know, Texas or Oklahoma or somewhere. It's pretty nasty what goes on in the weather around here. Well, it is what it is. We live in Iowa. We're going to have to go with it. Well, listen, folks, it's time for Senior Talk, the weekly radio program where I try to sit down and come up with ideas and thoughts of things that may be of interest to you, maybe to you or your family or your friends or someone in one of your groups. I'm just trying to bring things to the forefront, put them on the front burner, my mom used to say. Turn up the front burner and see what happens there. Hello, each and every one of you, and thank you for taking time under your busy day to listen to Senior Talk. We'll see what we can't cook up here. So whether you're a senior or a senior gonna be someday, why, maybe something that might just jolt you into thinking, maybe we should think about that or do that or consider something like that. That's for sure. So my name is Rex Brandstatter. I'm 75 years old, and I'm a real estate broker. I'm mostly in Iowa City and Coralville and Johnson County area, and I work mostly with seniors. I work with a lot of estates. I work with the executors of estates, administrators of estates, attorneys call me, bank trust departments call me. A lot of times we just need to straighten some things out, and part of that might be selling some real estate. So that's the deal. And I work with lots and lots of good old seniors, and doing that process of that right now with a few seniors entrusted me to help them with their real estate, and that's what I do. And you can call me on my senior line, which is 319-330-5534. 330-5534. And get yourself a sandwich and a nice cold root beer, and let's see what we can cook up here this week. Well, I can't say much about the weather. All you have to do is look outside and see what's going on. And, folks, it is what it is. But remember, this is the last day of winter. Tomorrow will be the first day of spring, so it's going to get it out of its system maybe. Get rid of this stuff. Get it out of here, that's for sure. So tomorrow, spring arrives. So I'm going to remind you of a couple things here. Now, if you want to visit a downtown business, this is the week to do it because the students are gone. They are AWOL. So there's a lot of nice, good stores and restaurants down there, and it's a good place to go. There's parking spaces because there's nobody down there. But you better hurry because they'll be back next week for sure. I was down there yesterday and actually saw parking spaces everywhere. I saw some local people going into some of the restaurants to have lunch, things like that. It's a good place to be, our long-time and a friendly good old downtown Iowa City. Well, a couple things here now. I had opened the mail last week, and I read a letter, and I had to sit down and think what I was reading. Then I had a friend of mine from Lone Tree stop in the office yesterday. He said, I got a letter about my taxes. And I said, well, no, it's really not about your taxes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking, did you get a letter last week from, I believe it came from the Johnson County from Johnson County. And in there was a letter that said, this is not a tax bill, nothing to do with your taxes. Well, what that was and what that is, I still have, is this. The Iowa legislature, signed by the governor, signed a thing that if you're going to, all communities and taxing bodies, meaning government taxing bodies, they have to now make public the fact that they're going to have a hearing on their proposed tax budgets and things like that. Okay. Now, Iowa City, Coralville, all towns have always had a budget where public can go in and talk about the budget. But now they have to have a hearing, a public hearing on the fact that Oxford is going to set the millage rate at this, Lone Tree is going to set their millage rate at that, the Johnson County supervisors are going to set their millage rate at this, and here's the amount of tax dollars, blah, blah, blah. That's what it's about. It is notification to the public, you and I, the public, coming from our taxing bodies, namely Johnson County. I live in Coralville, so mine had a paragraph about Johnson County, and down at the bottom had one about Coralville. And it's probably all going to be Greek to you. I understand that. You're going to read millage rates and things like that, which maybe you don't quite get. You know, I don't mean to understand, but you don't quite get how that works in. But it is. But on their letter, it's going to say when there is a public hearing. Now, in Coralville, the public hearing is next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock at City Hall. And I hope to be there because that's what I do. But also I review the budget. You should review the budget of your town. You should review the budget of the supervisor to see where your money goes. See where your tax money goes. This is a good notification to you that that's exactly what they now have to do according to the Iowa legislature. So that's what that is. And so the man from Lone Tree was all worried about it. He totally, he says, I don't even understand what the heck this is. And I explained it to him, and he felt better, but he says, I don't have to go to that hearing, do I? I said, no, you don't have to go to that hearing. I said, but you just be aware of the fact that these are how things get done. That's what we need to do. All right. The other letter that you're going to get in the mail, you don't have it yet, but you're going to get, we are all going to get letters from the Johnson County assessor and or the Iowa City assessor, depending on where you live, about the new assessments for our properties. So that'll be coming in the mail. Actually, I kind of expected that maybe they're going to go out this week or next week, pretty soon, for sure, because then you have the right to appeal that, and it'll all be in those letters. So you're going to get the new assessments coming out. So if you haven't jumped in the lake yet, you might want to after they come out. I have no idea what they're going to be. I got my own property, so I'll be in the same boat dock you're on, getting ready to jump in. So that's the story. Be on the lookout for that. Then the last one is, a few days now, your property taxes are due. Boy, the Rex is just full of good news here today. So the property taxes are due on the March 31st. You're going to get a letter from the county assessor or city assessor with a new assessment of your properties. And you also got a letter in the mail announcing that there's a public hearing for your governing body next week. So it is what it is. At least everybody's telling us up front. That's what that new law was about. All right. Well, excuse me. I've talked to a lot of friendly seniors recently, and here are sort of some of the discussions that we're having with them. It said that a senior man tells me that his wife passed away after a long battle. And he says, I'm working on her estate now, all the book work. He said, we had a lot of things done, a lot of things in place. He said, at least we had a will, and so that is covered. And as I marched through things, some first things, I didn't do anything for a while because my wife's gone, and he says, don't want to make any changes. I miss her and arrangement. Well, of course, we understand that. But he said, I finally agreed with other parts of the family. They don't have any kids, by the way. We took clothing and things like that, sort of let other people enjoy the things that she did. And then he said, I discovered something that I don't understand, I don't get it. He said, I discovered a credit card in her name. And he said, I went online and it's about a $20,000 balance. And he said, I had no clue, no idea what was going on, but he said, she did buy things online and different places around town, the mall all the time. So it was in her name, and he owed $20,000. And I said, so I was all ears. And I said, and how did you handle that? He said, well, I'm going to pay for that. And I said, okay. I said, are you sure you have to? He goes, what? I said, I don't know the answer to this, and I don't know the answer to this, and I don't know how it worked out. But if the card was in her name, is that your debt? Now, I'm sure the courts have addressed this, but I'm not sure of that. I'm not an attorney. I'm a real estate broker. So he is addressing that right now. He is talking to an attorney because he may or may not be responsible for that debt that was incurred on an account that he had no knowledge of, was not even in his name. Now, maybe the court, includes since we're married, they impute the fact that one account is for both of you. I don't know. That could very well be. That could be always been the rule. I don't know. But in this case, he's got $20,000 that the estate can pay. I said, well, it's worth a shot. So I'll keep you posted on that. We'll be very, very interested. And it certainly posed a question that you don't hear that often. I said, you don't have any? No. He said, well, they always had delivery trucks all the time at the house, or all the time. And he said, I knew she had stuff. There's things sitting around, and there were boxes down in the lower level. She had an area down there. There's always boxes in there. Well, apparently she was buying things and then marketing them online, and she ended up with a $20,000 debt. Oh, well. I want to see if you have ever seen the following cartoon. This is radio, so I can't point it out to you, but it's you're at a storage garage facility. You all know what storage garages are. It's just an older guy, he's walking with a cane, and the cartoon, he looks like he's a senior, and looks like he's about half had it, we'll call it. And then it looks like his son is there with him, and his son looks like maybe 50s, or I'm just guessing these ages. But the dad, the old timer, he's kind of shrunk down and got a cane, and the hair's kind of frizzled. And the garage door is up. And if you look at the garage door, you see I don't know, a suitcase. You see a bicycle standing on its back tires, and it's all kind of up in the air. And there's a lamp shade there on a lamp and a lampshade, and it's packed full, 100% full. And there's a bubble coming off the dad, and Grandpa says, someday this will all be yours. And isn't that the truth? Someday this will all be yours. Well, this is local people now. A senior friend advises that as he worked on his wife's estate, he found some notes and keys to a storage garage. 4 storage garages. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 storage garages. His wife had 4 of them stuffed to the brim with stuff. Now, he knew about one of them. He didn't know about the other 3. Now, he's hiring a company to help sift and sort and toss and sell. Now, folks, that would kind of throw a curveball. That would be the first scenario, which is true, $20,000 scenario, and now this the storage garage thing. That's from a lack. What we have here, son, is a lack of communication. That's exactly what that is. One party was afraid, in my opinion, embarrassed, to tell their spouse, for God's sake, what is going on here. Whether it was an atmosphere of you better not be doing this or that type of thing, out of fear that they didn't tell the other one. I don't know. I'm not a psychoanalyst. I don't know that. But these are 2 extreme type of things, I think. And it would come from the lack of communication. Now, there's no way that I'm not going to say normal person, any reasonable person would have, just the wife or the husband, just one of them, have 4 storage garages full of stuff. If you're moving and you rent for them while you're moving, or your business or things like that, that's one thing. But just to have your stuff, it takes up 4 storage garages. That's not cheap. A, it's not cheap. B, if you put stuff in there, when are you going to use it? How are you going to use it? Are you going to use it? What's the scoop? You just put it in there so you have it. And there's a thing called OCD, which is it's a little disease that you have to collect as many stuff as you see. And I know people who have it, and they're just collectors, and they don't throw anything like that. So it happened. So this lady must have been an extreme case, because he doesn't really know what to do, and he hired a company to, as he said, to sift through stuff, sort stuff, toss stuff, and sell things. And the other verbiage there would be donate, because he said, I don't even know what's in there. He said, I can see some of the stuff, but I don't know what's in there. He said, he said, I physically never put anything in there. And he said, not only that, but he said, our house is full of stuff. So, kind of got out of control. Is it getting out of control at your house? I'm asking you now, folks, is it getting out of control at your house? Someday this will all be yours. If you're listening to Senior Talk right now, you're listening to Rex right now, and you're sitting there with your significant other, someday this is all going to be yours. Are they running for the door now? Oh, no. Well, I don't want all that stuff. Let's deal with it now. That's the story of today. Let's deal with it now. Get started, for gosh sake. Everybody out there will just raise your hand if you think you have too much stuff. And boy, do I see hands popping up. I see people want to raise it, but they don't want to because they don't want to admit it. But I'm just going to tell you that 90% of the people out there think they have too much stuff. They won't do anything about it for the lion's share. But quite frankly, someday this will all be yours. Won't be that funny. I'm going to tell you that right now. All right. A senior friend recently lost his wife. I brought these in because these are all, the wife passed away. And he advised to me, he said, we worked with our insurance agent and a financial planner for years. This is the good side of this story. Unfortunately, he lost his wife. He said, we had everything all set up. Her loss was not totally expected. He said, that's for sure. She'd been having some issues over the last couple of years, but nothing that I thought or either one of us thought was going to push her over the hill and pass away. And he said, so it was not totally expected. But she passed away, and he said, looking back on it now, he said, I'm so happy that we made it a point to talk to each other. That's the part of this thing today, to talk to each other and figure out the plans. He said, we even planned funerals, planned the music, and she wrote her own obit. We had to plug in the dates later on. He said, I didn't have to do anything like that, but he said, I would have, but he said, I wouldn't have included half the stuff she put in that she was proud of, and things like that. He said, I know I would have forgotten half the stuff, and then I would have gone, oh, crap, why didn't I think about that? So there's these some good, valuable ideas here, folks, for sure. So how about you? Things can happen anytime. Honest to gosh, things can happen anytime. So if you think, well, we're going to work down on that in a couple of years, well, it might be a little bit too late. Well, another big thing in real estate is multi-generational living in one home. Multi-generational. And that's just what that says, multi-generational. You've got grandma and grandpa living there. You got the son or the daughter or both living there. And maybe you just have the grandkids or a mixture thereof. Or your husband's brother lives there, or your wife's sister is living in the lower level. That's multi-generational housing. Homes with at least 2 generations of adults over 24 or grandparents with younger grandchildren quadrupled in the last 10 years to nearly 60 million homes. Wow. Isn't that something? A 2023 research paper found nearly half of adults age 18 to 29 live with their parents. Half of adults 18 to 29 live with their parents. So in other words, they graduate, I'm going to say this out loud, they graduate from high school, maybe they graduate from college, or maybe they graduate from high school and they have a job, but they're still living at home up to age 29. And because why? Why? That wasn't in my, or your, most likely, your list of things to do was to stay and live with your parents, for most of you. Median house prices in the country keep going up. In 1963, the median price, meaning half or over and half or less, $18,000. The present day equivalent, roughly, of $186,000 to over $400,000 today. Wow. It's a response to the challenging economics of housing markets today, said this professor of real estate. There are more boomerang children, 25 and older, than ever before. In other words, boomerang mean they left, they went out on their own, and the job couldn't support it. The major in college didn't let them get a job that paid anything. How many history majors and English majors do they need? And there was no chance of a job in their field, is exactly what this means. It's a trend that's criticized by many Americans, including Rex, I guess, because I've never been in that position, so I guess I can't really criticize. I would just question the motivations or something like that. Reported that over a third of Americans say more young adults living with their parents is, quote, bad for society. Well, I don't know that I would go that far. I think it's a little strange that that so many people are doing it. Another survey from a marketing consultant said that while 42% of parents provided financial support to adult children, 3/4 of them believe they should live on their own. Well, to me, that'd be the number one thing. So I remember now my when I graduated from high school, unbeknownst to me, I didn't extrapolate this to a couple of weeks later. I got a suitcase, I got a shaving kit, and I got a travel clock. And boy, those are nice gifts. And then a couple weeks later, I went, why did I get a suitcase, an alarm clock, and a travel kit? Am I going somewhere? And I was 17 when I graduated from high school, so it was either go to college or go to the Army. I want to go to the service, one or the other. And I had intended to go to college, which I did. But my dad looked at me and he said this: Mom and I in the house are always going to be here, but he said little birds get hatched and they grow up and they fly away. That's exactly what he said. He said we'll always be here. Something happens, something going on with it. But it's time for you to get your wings and jump out of the nest. And I took that. That was my intention all along. I mean, I was off to college, folks. Man, that was my thing. Maybe off to trade school, whatever it's going to be, off to the service, whatever your thing is or was, or whatever your kids did or grandkids are going to do. That was normal. Now I would also interject right here that 25% of the young adults up to age 27 or 28 do not have a driver's license. Well, if you recall from being when you're 14 or 15 and your cousin got a driver's license, or your kid down the street that got a driver's license, that was called what we called freedom. I mean, you could go do what you want when you wanted to, as long as you played by my dad's rules. You could do whatever you want, go wherever you want, because there were still rules. Even though I had a driver's license, I was not a free man. I still had to check in, let them know where we were, that type of thing. That's what that meant. So 25% of the young adults today don't even have a driver's license. So there is a real trend here. And not moving out is because their job doesn't allow them to earn enough money to have their own home or their own apartment, even own apartment. Gee whiz, I remember our first apartment, it was $120 a month, and heat and lights type of thing, man, that was running up to $150 a month, and that was a pretty big nut to crack. But I never wanted to go home. It was an option because they told me it was an option, but I never played that card. I'm out. I mean, I went back to visit, obviously, and things like that, but that's just, so it's all changed. And as an older guy, I don't get it. But if you rationalize it with use the rationale that they can't afford to live anywhere else. That's what happens. Now, speaking of can't afford to live anywhere else, how about you? Are you having a tough time living at your home? Now, a lot of you aren't. I understand that, but a lot of seniors do. A lot of non-seniors have a tough time, and it's multi-generational. It can also go over to there's more than one person living in a home, and unrelated. Now, you could maybe rent out your lower level of your home. Maybe you have an extra bedroom you could rent out, and you usually can. And you'd have to call the governing body where you live. You live in Solon, call Solon Building Department, or North Liberty, or Oxford, or Coralville, whatever and see if you can do that, because there are rules and regulations. Okay, you can't rent out your basement if you live in a single family zone, but you could rent a room. Usually, you can't rent an apartment, but you can rent a room. And if you're renting an apartment and it's not legal, I don't want to know about it. None of my business. I'm not coming looking for it. But what I'm trying to say is, if you had an extra room and maybe you have a really nice lower level with an extra family room down there and a bedroom and a bathroom down there, or maybe you could rent that to someone who has a lifestyle that doesn't interfere with yours, and maybe pick up $400 or $500 or $600 a month. Wow. Remember, not if that person is there, they may be using electricity and water and taking a shower and stuff like that. So add in, it's not cheap to live anywhere, but that person could be looking for something less than $1,000 or less than $600, and it might just fit right in. There. Maybe you could pick up a few dollars and save yourself. If you've got a mortgage, maybe that makes your mortgage payment. If it doesn't, you don't have a mortgage, maybe that money buys your groceries. Maybe it pays your taxes. Maybe it goes into your bank account for later. Gee whiz, folks. There's a lot of this going on. Many scenarios. I know personally of people having a rumor in the house. Roomer. Okay, that is for sure. And by the way, speaking of rumors, I thought this big. If you look outside, you look at the cars around town. There's all kinds of mud and dirt on cars, and I was advised by Jim Hunter down here that I told him about my car, and he said that's all stuff that's blown up here from down south. And if I told you that already, I'll tell you that again. If you go out and look at your car, it's been outside, it might be really, really dirty on the side facing to the east, because that's where it came from. Wow, you never know around here, anyhow. So that's what we're doing here today, folks. We're trying to get you to read your mail so you can figure out what's going on in the public hearings. And look out for the assessments. And I don't mean look out like be afraid of them, but they're on the mail, so you'll know. All right. I was reading one day last week that the old Iowa City, the previous, not the old post office, but the previous Iowa City post office down there on South Clinton Street could be listed for sale. All right. It's a federal building. It's owned by the federal government. The post office rented from them. I think Geological Survey was in there. Other governmental branches were in there for a while. I don't know who's in it. Social Security was in there for a while. They moved to Coralville. I have a nice building in Coralville. But it says it could be for sale. Could be put on the market for sale. Who would buy that big thing? Well, there's only, if you look around this town, who would buy that? Well, there'd be only one obvious buyer, would be the university. I don't know who knows? I haven't even thought about that, but that could be something like that. It's downtown, close to campus. Could it be housing? Could it be a senior housing? Hey, I don't know what all could be in there. I'm just saying it could be for sale. Well, it was dedicated in, I'm going to say 1972 or 1973. It's only the third post office in Iowa City. The first post office was actually located at Napoleon. The first post office serving Iowa City was actually in Napoleon. That's right down here on South Gilbert Street, South Sand Road, where all the baseball diamonds and softball diamonds are. That's where Napoleon was. So that was the first, quote, post office. And it was actually what they called 2 miles south of Iowa City. Originally that post office served Iowa City. Serving Iowa City it came out of Muscatine, which received mail from steamboats coming up the Mississippi. So this is all plays into the Iowa City post office, for God's sake. Interesting. Records make no mention of it. Local histories indicate that amid much controversy, the post office was moved for a brief period from Napoleon to the home of a judge that lived down that neck of the woods. Now, who knows why? We won't ask that, but it was south of Old Man's Creek down there. So they were trying to get it organized. The Postal Service was just trying to get organized. The post office was moved into Iowa City proper in 1839. And it was in a store just south of the Presbyterian Church, north of the Pentecrest, in the 100 block of North Clinton Street. So the post office has been around forever. Now, I remember walking out of the post office before the previous one, which was over across where the senior center is now. That was the post office when most of us were, when I was a kid anyhow. And I remember if you walked up those steps with beautiful steps, it's a beautiful building, by the way. Pretty interesting things. And that was built in 1904. And I remember up above the doorway there on, I think, the south entrance on the west side, it had, I'm going to say stamped in there, carved in there, but etched in there, it was 1904. I always thought, boy, this building is old. You know, I mean, that was in the 50s. I probably went down. I think we went down there as Cub Scouts. We got to go to the Press Citizen and watch the newspaper presses run, which they don't have anymore, of course. They printed in Des Moines. And I thought so, but it was only maybe 50 years old at the time, for God's sake. Wow. All right. You know, it was hard to lose that one downtown when they built the senior center and they decided to move in 1972 or so around the corner over there across from the courthouse. That was kind of a tough sell for me. I liked that post office there. I knew lots of my friends' dads worked down there in the post office and sorted mail and things like that. And it was a pretty nice building. Pretty neat. You know, it fronted Washington Street, but then they rebuilt it and put the front of it over on what is it, Lynn Street over there. And right across the street to the west I think it was built in the 1880s, was the Iowa City City Council chambers and fire station and police station. Was right across the street to the west, right across the street to the west from the 1904 post office. And they had the fire department had what they call articulating doors, and those are the doors that open like an accordion type of thing, and so the fire trucks would come out of there, and the firemen slept upstairs. It was the only station they had, and then the police station was, I think the police department was right, I know it was right next door, and City Hall was there. My uncle was the fireman, and so his son, my cousin, we would go down there in the summer when no school, and they lived up on Fairchild Street. We would walk downtown and, weigh ourselves at the First National Bank big scale, ride the escalator at the stores, ride the elevator over at the Iowa State Bank, real major stuff. And we'd always go in the fire department there, and he'd say, "Not today, boys." So they were busy. What we wanted to do, we wanted to slide down the pole. And on 2 occasions, he says, "Hurry up," and then in his true vernacular, "Get the hell out of here. Go find something to do." So we got to slide down the pole at the downtown Iowa City Fire Station, which was at a fire station location, not where they're at today, but over on Lynn Street, what is now the Senior Center. All right. That building, the classical style, they call it, over on Lynn and Washington Street, it served until the one over on the South Clinton Street. And right now it is one of 8 post offices in Johnson County. Plus, there's a station out in Coralville. They call it the station in Coralville. Wow. Other post offices in 1882, when they really got going here. Now, Coralville had a post office in 1774, and they had a lady postmaster. Now, I don't know if that sets any record or not. I've never read it was, but I've never read otherwise. But they had a woman, a postmaster, in 1875. I have a postal mark, a postal service mark on there. The other post office in 1882 in the township was, Coralville was in Lucas Township. Iowa City was in Iowa City Township. Morfordville, which is south there on the Sand Road, was in Pleasant Valley Township. North Liberty was in Penn Township. Oxford was in Oxford Township. And Sharon Center was in Sharon Township. Shoeyville up in Jefferson Township. Solon in Big Grove. And Tiffin in Clear Creek. And Wyndham down in Hardin Township. There was no post office in Lincoln, Scott, Cedar, or Union on the east side of town. So the Postal Service came to town. I've never been enamored. I like the people who work there. I've never been enamored with the Postal Service politics, and I don't mean in Iowa City, but I mean they're tough to deal with as far as any kind of governmental control, because part of the government, I guess, would be the main thing. But I just thought it was interesting. And Postal Service means so much to us. I know they're trying to reform some things. We shall see what happens. The big thing, when you get a new house now, I tell you this, if you look at a new home, let me give you a little warning here. If you look at a new home or a condo, one of the things you want to look at, you want to step in the front yard and look at that house first. Look at that house before first, and look up and down the street. And a lot of people don't even think about this, but if you look down my street, if you look one way, you see mailboxes out by the curb, okay? If you look the other way, you won't see that. They don't have them. What do they have? They have what's called a gang mailbox down on the corner. You have to go stop in that little, they have like 20 of them or 40 of them or 60 of them on the corner. So if you live with a gang mailbox, when you come home, snow, wind blowing, you got looking for something, you have to get out of your car, go down there. Hopefully somebody shoveled it, because they don't come in and shovel it. Hopefully somebody lives nearby, or a Good Samaritan, or anybody who gets mail there has shoveled that out so you can get your mail. Versus having your mailbox in your front yard. I think that's the greatest, handiest thing ever. Your mailbox come right to your front door, for God's sake. So you be careful of that. A gang mailbox, once you live there, I know people who hate it, who absolutely hate it. Other people like it because the mailbox is locked. Those mailboxes are locked. You can also put a locked mailbox out on the street if you get the okay from the Postal Service. So we took the little post offices here. It used to be come to Iowa City on the stagecoach, and it used to come here by the train on the Rock Island Rockaway to bring it in. And you used to be able to take the mail, and it would leave here on airmail. I remember in a class in grade school, I'm going to say third or fourth grade, we got to write a letter. I'm going to guess to the governor or the president. I don't remember who. We'll say the governor. And some of them mailed it just regular mail, and some paid an extra penny for airmail to see which one got there first. It was a big deal, so we've always been in need of the U.S. mail, and a little history there going to Iowa City, too. All right. Well, you know something? We never know about our tenure in the world, on this planet, and it's sometimes surprising to see the others you know and how much they've aged. It's never how much have you aged, but you see others and how much they've aged. Isn't that the truth? Well, guess what? You and I have too. So I want you to think about this. Keep the home fires going. Keep your mental ability and awareness up and at them. Work at every day to become a good, viable person that you know you are. But sometimes it's a struggle with your health and things like that. So remember this. I want you to do all you can while you can, because someday we won't be able to do all we can. So that's a story. So do all you can while you can, and be careful of the weather out there. We never know what's going to happen to us. So stay safe, too. Cheer the Hawks on. There's big hockey coming to Extreme Arena this weekend. Hockey, get out there and see them. They've been on a 10-game road trip. They need your support. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday night and Saturday. It'll be a great time to go see hockey. I'll be there. I'll see you there. So, this is Rex Brandstatter from Senior Talk. Giving my salute to all you veterans out there. And I just want to say thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. So long.
The Solid American Legion